Structural engineer John G. is deeply engaged in his work, studying the blueprints for a construction project. Following his shift, he returns home to his estranged wife, Allison, and their young son, Nathan, who requires an insulin pump to manage his diabetes. Although tensions between John and Allison are high, they put on a brave face for Nathan's sake and do their best to create a peaceful atmosphere. In the news, a big story is developing. Clark, a massive comet, is expected to pass close to Earth, causing great excitement. To witness this rare sight, John and Allison will host a small gathering of friends and neighbors at their home, hoping to catch a glimpse of Clark's journey across the night sky. While out grocery shopping, John's phone suddenly vibrates with a government emergency alert. The message indicates that John, Allison, and Nathan have been chosen to relocate to a secure bunker. As John drives home, he notices military vehicles speeding by, hinting at something far more serious than he initially suspected. When he gets home, the guests have already gathered, and everyone's attention is drawn to the television. The news anchor provides a terrifying update. A fragment of Clark has struck the ocean, causing a minor earthquake. As John steps outside, the ground shakes, followed by a massive shockwave. Back inside, John and Allison watch terrifying footage of Florida being hit by a comet fragment. The devastation is unimaginable. Another emergency alert appears on the television, instructing them to go to Robins Air Force Base and board evacuation flights. Recognizing the urgency, John instructs Allison to gather essential items and prepare to leave. As they approach the door, a neighbor, Ed, warns John that Clark isn't just one comet, but a massive cluster of deadly fragments. Their panic grows as they start the car, only to be stopped by Deborah, a desperate neighbor who begs them to take her daughter, Ellie. Heartbroken, John apologizes, knowing Ellie will be denied entry without clearance. As they approach the base, a traffic jam forces them to abandon their car and walk. Unbeknownst to them, Nathan's medication had fallen out during the rush and been left behind in the vehicle. The base entrance is packed with people, all demanding entry, and their desperation heightens the tension. When the family arrives at the checkpoint and presents their wristbands, Allison notices Nathan's medicine is missing. John quickly returns to retrieve it, while Allison approaches a soldier, explaining Nathan's condition and hoping for leniency. Instead, they meet Major Breen, who informs them that people with certain medical conditions, such as diabetes, are barred from boarding. Allison begs for an exception, but the Major's stance remains firm. Allison, frantic, assumes John has already boarded a plane and attempts to contact someone to inform him, but her pleas are ignored. Meanwhile, John retrieves the medicine and tries to board. Another passenger notices the medication in his hands and reminds him of the no medical condition rule. John takes a step back in horror as he realizes what is going on. At that point, chaos ensues as the crowd pushes through the gates toward the planes. Some people are armed and begin firing, forcing base workers to abandon their positions. During the chaos, a fuel hose is dropped, spilling fuel dangerously close to the crowd. John barely escapes as the spilled fuel ignites, causing explosions that kill several people and destroy 2 planes. With his heart racing, John rushes back to the car, hoping to find Allison and Nathan. He arrives and discovers that their car has been broken into. Allison's note informs him that they are heading to her father's house in Lexington. Determined, John takes off on foot, following their trail. Meanwhile, Allison and Nathan seek refuge in a looted pharmacy to replenish Nathan's medication. Their relief is short-lived, as gunmen storm the store and open fire. Allison grabs Nathan and attempts to flee, but they are cornered. She begs one of the gunmen to spare Nathan, and to her great relief, he releases them. Allison meets Judy and her husband Ralph on the road and convinces them to give her and Nathan a ride, at least until they reach Knoxville. Meanwhile, John, walking through a chaotic city, notices more fragments of Clark burning in the sky. He stops by a rooftop party to try to reach Allison. They briefly connect, exchanging a few words before the call is disconnected. Allison is left feeling anxious and unsure about what to do next after their conversation. She tells Judy and Ralph about being denied access to the base, which piques Ralph's interest. After a brief pause, Ralph abruptly stops the car under the pretense of assisting Allison. Things take a dark turn when Ralph reveals his true intentions. He tries to throw Allison out of the car, overpowering her and removing her wristband. During the struggle, Ralph and Judy kidnap Nathan, leaving Allison devastated by the roadside. Heartbroken but determined, she stumbles down the deserted road, refusing to abandon hope. Her mind is racing with memories of Nathan and John, the image of their family torn apart fueling her determination to keep going despite the world collapsing around her. Allison, stranded on a deserted road and feeling hopeless, is noticed by a family in a minivan who stops to assist. She expresses gratitude for their kindness and explains her urgent situation. Meanwhile, John is taking a different approach. He comes across a truck full of people on their way to Canada, hoping to escape the global disaster. After speaking with the driver, John gets a ride to Lexington, where he intends to regroup and look for Allison and Nathan. As they travel, tensions rise. A passenger named Lucas discovers that John has a government-issued wristband that allows him to be evacuated, a symbol of safety that Lucas greatly envies. Lucas, who believes only Americans should be chosen for survival, demands John hand over his wristband. When John refuses, Lucas and his friend Micah attack him, resulting in a brutal fight. The driver struggles to maintain control of the vehicle, but the chaos makes this impossible, and the truck veers off the road, crashing violently. John manages to defend himself with every ounce of his strength. In a final desperate act, he grabs a hammer from Lucas and strikes him, effectively ending the attack. John, horrified by what he has done, gathers himself and continues on, shaken but determined to reunite with his family. At the same time, Ralph and Judy arrive at the airbase, attempting to pass Nathan off as their own child by using stolen wristbands. Their goal is to get on an evacuation flight, believing it is their best chance of survival. Tension rises as they attempt to gain entry. Nathan seizes the opportunity and tells a nearby soldier that he has been kidnapped. Surprised, the soldier transports him to safety, and Ralph and Judy are quickly apprehended. Nathan is taken to a medical camp for examination. Allison soon arrives at the airbase and begins frantically searching for Nathan. A soldier kindly guides her through the maze of tents until she is reunited with her son. She holds him close, overcome with relief and gratitude. Meanwhile, John is still on his journey. Wandering through an empty neighborhood, he breaks into a house to get food and water. He turns on the television and is confronted with more tragic news. Catastrophic events are taking place all over the world, and Europe has recently been hit by a fragment of Clark, the massive comet that is wreaking havoc. With a heavy heart, John steals a car and drives to Allison's father, Dale's home, hoping to find his family. Allison eventually calls Dale's house, and she and Nathan are picked up shortly thereafter. The reunion was bittersweet. Dale can sense John and Allison's tension, despite the fact that they are back together. It is revealed that John cheated on her during their troubled marriage. Despite John's deep remorse, the betrayal continues to weigh on their relationship. As the family settles in, however, John recalls something an old friend told him about evacuation planes bound for Greenland, a possible last hope. With determination, he suggests that they try to get there. Dale, on the other hand, chooses to remain at home and face his fate. The Garris family travels toward Canada in Dale's truck. When they get to upstate New York, a radio broadcast warns of an impending disaster. Molten debris fragments travel directly to their destination. Suddenly, fiery balls start raining down, striking everything around them. People scream and run in terror as flames engulf cars and buildings. John quickly leads Allison and Nathan to take cover beneath an underpass, hoping that it will protect them. In the midst of the furious storm, John notices a man trapped in a nearby vehicle. Despite the danger, he rushes over to free the man and leads him to safety just as another fireball hits the ground. When the terrifying onslaught is over, they emerge from their shelter, shaken but alive, and continue on. After miles of relentless travel, the family arrives at an airstrip where a plane is about to take off. Desperate, John blocks the plane's path with their truck, forcing the pilot to come to a stop. He begs the pilot to allow Allison and Nathan to board, offering to stay behind if it means they can escape. Allison, however, refuses to leave without him, and her pleadings persuade the pilot to let them all aboard. As the plane ascends toward Greenland, a massive comet fragment crashes into the coast, causing a powerful shockwave. The turbulence is severe, and while the passengers brace themselves, the pilots struggle to maintain control. Unfortunately, both pilots are fatally injured. In his final moments, the lead pilot signals John, indicating that another plane has landed nearby. John understands. The bunkers they're looking for are nearby. With urgency and determination, John leads his family and the other passengers off the plane. They move as one group through the rugged terrain, clinging to hope for survival. Finally, soldiers guide them into a fortified underground bunker, just as the largest and most destructive fragment of Clark approaches Earth. The Garris family embraces each other, bracing for whatever comes next. 9 months pass. The worst of the radiation has finally passed, and as the bunker doors open, the survivors emerge into a changed but livable world. Under a clear sky, they see birds flying again, a symbol of hope and resilience. The Garris family, like the others, watches in amazement, filled with a quiet determination to rebuild and move forward in this new world.